Hello, crypto legends. The price of Bitcoin has gained some uptrend momentum in the last week, and it has shifted the downtrend that we had from the rejection of all-time high in August. So it's looking pretty good for the bulls, right? We should be hitting all-time high maybe in 1-2 weeks. I'm going to explain why all-time high is extremely likely to happen before the end of the year. However, I do not think it's going to be hit in the next 1 to 2 weeks, and we still have the risk of coming down to visit the lows of the range of 107.2K and even breaking it to the downside. But I will be explaining why all-time high is likely and why continuing the range here in a corrective structure is more likely than actually rallying from this point with shallow pullbacks to hit all-time high. So let's dive in right into the video. Now, first of all, why are we so confident that new all-time highs are going to be hit before the end of the year? Well, it's basically this movement to the downside. It's an extremely corrective overlappy structure, which means if you move down in a correction, you're likely going to take those highs at some point. Now, when we do try and fit some kind of an impulsive move, we do know that a multiple 1-2 has been invalidated literally with this movement to the upside, claiming the last lower high. So the structure has been broken. And when we want to count a 5-wave move down, which can be counted, you might think, hey, this is possible, right? Because your wave 3 is not the smallest wave. However, we did overlap with your wave 4 and your wave 1. So we want to think about diagonals. And how we do connect a diagonal is from your wave 2 to your wave 4 and your wave 1 to your wave 3. Now, this would have to be an expanding diagonal. As you can see, the waves are getting expanded, right? However, on an expanding diagonal, your wave 5 needs to be longer than your wave 3, which is not the case. So what is formed over here is either an ABC movement in a zigzag or a potential WXY. Now, if it is a WXY, that means that the low is in. And what we're forming here are impulsive moves, okay, in wave 1s and 2s. And we should be rocketing here in a wave 3, wave 4, and 5, then a correction, and then hit all-time high later on in the next coming weeks. This is the most bullish case scenario. A WXY means it's a finished corrective structure, and you would not expect the lows to be hit. However, you do have also the ABC movement. This is a zigzag structure. And in a zigzag, you do have the potential of continuing a larger corrective structure, which means you have a 3-wave corrective structure to the upside. This would be your wave W, your wave X potentially finishing at some point in this region. And then you have the risk of a double zigzag, which you move down throughout the next couple of weeks very aggressively to claim down below 107K, maybe go to the low 100K levels. This is still very much a scenario. And you might think, why do you think that this still has a good chance in playing out? Well, we need to zoom out here on the 4-hourly time frame as explained on the live streams. The movement up since we had on April at $75,000 was an extreme rally here. As you can see, a big impulsive move up here with your correction, this movement to the upside, this correction, and another spike up. Here, you can fit a contracting diagonal. And this is what I strongly believe that has happened. Now, when we do think about this massive rally from April all the way to August, right? It's been a nice 4-month rally. For this to be the correction and rally to new all-time highs would be very shallow in time, okay? This would be a shallow pullback in time. Yes, it is totally fine. It does happen, but not very often, okay? So this is why we come with the theory that a larger corrective structure here is very likely for the next coming weeks, and it all has to do with the time. So when we do zoom in here on the lower time frames, we're going to go to the 1-hourly time frame and try and understand a little bit of this uptrend structure. If we believe that this has been the low in that WXY, well, we should be forming some pretty interesting impulsive moves to the upside, okay? Which is not the case. Yes, I have to say, you can kind of fit multiple 1-2s in this zone. You got a wave 1 right over here, this being a wave 2, another wave 1 and 2, another wave 1 and 2, And yes, you're already breaking out in your third wave, which could be a wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, 4, and 5. And literally, you're going to be exploding out in the next 1 to 2 weeks. This would be labeled as your wave 3 eventually. You got your first wave 1s and 2s, and now you're already breaking out the resistance, the neckline, right, from that inverted head and shoulder, and you should be seeing volume increasing, very shallow pullbacks, and really just continuing to rally, which is kind of the case. So I'm not saying that this is not possible. It just doesn't look quite right, okay? Because when you do form multiple 1-2s, you really want to explode out significantly, okay, throughout the next coming days. And the weekend is coming up, which is very well known as range structures that we do form on the weekend. So overall, can this be the wave 3? It's just your wave 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5 will be formed in the next week, okay, which is literally what would happen if you think it's very impulsive. I'm a little bit skeptical on this situation. Multiple 1-2s here don't look too great, especially with this latest one. I want to see the price absolutely mooning, breaking out this resistance, which is definitely not the case. And we do have decreasing volume, okay? Decreasing volume, which is not what you want to see when you're breaking out a major resistance in an inverted head and shoulder and you're potentially forming your wave 3. Not the best price action. We are hitting lots of resistance, okay, as well, which will be talked about throughout this video update. Now, when we do take a look at the other scenarios that look more attractive, in my personal opinion, I would say that, okay, there is a way of fitting here this a wave 1, and there is a WXY in this sideways structure. This would be your wave 2. Could this be another wave 1 and you form another wave 2 here? Let's give it a chance. Maybe throughout the next couple of days, we form a very corrective structure to the downside where we do not break down in a wave 3, which is what I would want to see, of course, for the bearish case. Then I would say it's very likely that we're going to take out 107.2. The moment that you take out this higher low at 110.7K, it's going to be extremely likely that we do take out 107.2, okay? So yeah, this is like the crucial pivot. It's literally breaking the trend line, breaking the structure. Claiming this pivot will give you high probability, if that were to be the case in the next coming days, that we are going to be claiming this low because you've broken the uptrend structure, and we would be looking for these lows to be claimed days even after claiming that 110.7. The bullish structure has completed, it's broken, and we would be looking for these lows to be claimed. It's kind of pretty simple because it's just really just breaking the last higher low of the uptrend structure of the last 2 days, right? You got a bit of a 3-wave movement here to the upside, which is looking very interesting. So the invalidation for the bulls, without a doubt, which would be high probability that we're going to take out 107.2, is hitting 110.7. So for the bulls, they want to remain above 110.7. The moment you lose this pivot, high probability that we are going to claim 107.2K with potentially breaking down to lower levels. Okay, so this is the crucial pivot for the bulls to hold in the next coming days. Now, this is going to be relatively simple to identify, okay? Weekend is coming up. Weekend is usually very rangy, so it might form a corrective structure. But from this pivot low to the pivot high, it does look pretty nice that we formed an impulse. Now, I do see personally here a 3-wave structure, and this is why I pointed out these boxes right over here. You can see the rally from the low, nice 1 wave. This is a sideways structure, which means it's 1 wave basically formed in this consolidation. You don't have a direction after creating this wave. You don't break down, you don't continue to the upside. We're forming a new wave. It's sideways momentum. This entire structure is another wave. So this is where you have this next wave. So we do count a 3-wave move. The question is this a wave 1 and 2? And this is another wave 1 and 2? Well, it all will be said in the next coming days. If we move down in a 3-wave structure and we start overlapping the pivot lows, the wave 3 doesn't break down, then this is going to be a confirmed correction once you overlap your pivot 1 and pivot 2 here. for that possible bearish case. This will be the confirmation that this is very likely a wave 2, and this is another wave 2, and then you look for the wave 3 breakout in the next coming days once this correction has happened. So the other scenarios that we do have is that we do break down in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom, right? We claim 110.7, we get a bounce, very overlappy. That is the moment that we can confirm, especially when you hit this low, is that we're going to claim 107.2K, guys, okay? This is the moment that I will be extremely interested in short position, adding to shorts, getting into shorts and making it a big position down to claim 107.2K, okay? Move down in an impulse, claiming 110.7, even an impulse without claiming it, all right? Could be interesting to check the bounce and then look for shorts. If we move down correctively, we get lots of overlap, then eventually we'll be analyzing the 1-2-1-2 scenario to get a breakout in a third wave later on in the next coming days once this happens. Now, when we do get the boxes off, and we analyze that bounce, eventually, we do have my preferred scenario, which is looking at this ABC movement to the downside in your wave W, which would be this structure right over here. And right now, we formed that 3-wave move up, okay, in an ABC, which is literally forming your B wave in a triangle. This is what fits better in this range. Now, in a triangle, when you formed in a B wave, your extensions are usually lower. From the low of the A wave to the top of the A wave to the end of the B wave in the triangle, your most common target is in between the 0.618 and the 1-to-1 extension. 1-to-1 extension actually rejected early this morning at 116.1K. So it looks very interesting for this resistance to actually hold as resistance and start rejecting down, okay? Maybe you claim the high once again, but overall, looking for a potential pullback in this zone very aggressively could be the option here. Now, also, what other resistance are we hitting from the 1-to-1 extension of this ABC, possible ABC move? Guys, we're not ruling off here the potential of a 1-2 and a 1-2 and then breaking a 3. We really need to pay attention on that rejection to see if it is going to be corrective or impulsive. But the levels of resistance that we are hitting is the value area low of this entire trading range, right? You can see a lot of people might count this entire range, counting the local price action of the last 1 to 2 weeks, which would not be the correct movement here for the range. And the main reason why is because this is a range right over here, and this is another range down here. So we're not counting this to have the fixed volume profile. So the proper value area low is from this range that we formed in between July and August, which is literally where we are finding resistance. Another Fibonacci resistance level is the 50% Fibonacci from the all-time high to the pivot low here. 50% is where we're getting resistance with the value area low and the 1-to-1 extension of this possible ABC movement. So it's looking interesting. If this resistance fails to hold, we're likely going to break out and hit the next big major resistance, which is the golden pocket with the point of control of this range sitting at $118,000. This would be a very interesting zone to pay attention because you do have that high volume node looking at the volume profile, right? That is the biggest wall of resistance with the golden pocket from all-time high. Can it be hit? Absolutely. I will be looking this as a barrier of resistance. Could it still be possible that this is still a ABC movement up and you still form that X wave, but you just go slightly higher to 118K and then we roll down very aggressively in another zigzag down throughout the next coming weeks? Absolutely yes. These are the most crucial resistance rejection points to actually come down to hit 107.2K in the next few weeks, guys. It is the 50% with the value area low of the range or the golden pocket with the point of control of this range between July and August. Now, of course, if we were to extend and break out in the next coming days well above this zone, then this means that potentially you're either forming an impulse to the upside which is literally what I explained. You finished your WXY and you have your 1, 2, 1, 2, bang, third wave, right? You get to 120, 121. You're correcting very shallowly. You create another high and another high right there. This would be a very classic impulsive move up, which you could be expecting a correction, but ultimately taking out all-time high later on if we were to get this significant rally, okay? The other scenario would be a larger WXY, which would be fitting here with the possibility of forming, okay, the sideways corrective structure. If your wave X does extend well beyond the golden pocket, hitting the 7/8 Fibonacci or above the 7%, okay, Fibonacci retracement, this means that potentially you have the zigzag here, another very sharp zigzag. You're still forming the impulsive move of your C wave. And then if you do extend well beyond the golden pocket, you possibly could form either a flat here later on to then rally, or form a larger triangle entering into October, okay, which would be eventually your Y wave. And that's the moment that we would be very, very bullish for that breakout later on, okay? So ultimately, all of the scenarios do point out that new all-time highs is very, very likely. However, the overall question is, will we manage to claim the lows at 107K before hitting all-time high later on throughout the rest of the year, guys? Not much more has to be said, okay, in this episode. If you are interested in joining the VIP group where I share my trading setups, we also have Dylan with the altcoin setups. It is super simple to enter. You just need to send a message, okay, to my Telegram, which is the first link down below. And to get access, it's as easy as signing up to one of the links down below. Bluffing or Weeks or BTCC, you got incredible perks right there. 10% cash back on your deposit on Bluffing. Weeks has that airdrop as well on Ethereum. Depending on what you deposit, you'll be getting that airdrop to trade with, okay? And you'll be getting access to the VIP community. Super simple to enter. Just send me a message, show me that you've signed up, and we'll get you into the VIP where I'm sharing all of my trades, and also Dylan is as well. Thank you very much for joining today's video update, and I will see you in the next one.